Well, Jim, that was a strange game. I won't say a game of two halves, but it didn't feel like a 4-1. I know that's what the scoreline says, but do you feel hard done to tonight?
No, not really. But they were ruthless and efficient. And I think this is the first time that I feel we've played against a team, not just the quality, but the full-time fitness. Everything that they did tonight was sharp, strong, purposeful, and they looked like a league team. We've played other teams that are maybe full-time, but nowhere near as strong as them. They're a team that have been building for quite a few years now, and even Sam Jones they signed on the eve today, Jimmy Ball, the players who played in the league, and I think that that quality, that intensity, that physical prowess to get up and down the pitch paid off for them tonight, and you could see the difference, I think, in where we've come from and where most of them have come from.
Is there a bit of envy sometimes when you look and you see them starting with three strikers? They've got another three strikers on the bench, and you're kind of rotating two, aren't you?
Well, I mean that's the investment they're putting in. They're pushing hard now. They'll as I said in my programme notes, they're the best team left in the league, and they're investing and getting stronger. And they've been years working at this, whereas we've come from the Conference North, and as I said in my programme notes, we should be pleased with what we've done. People have to remember, what we pay our players, what our budget is, what our structures are, and so I can't go in there and be too harsh on them and say you can't compete and you let them do this and you let them do that. I think there was a stage in the game where I thought we had confidence and purpose. We looked like we'd score again. But I'm just disappointed with the edge that went off our front play in terms of it coming back easy, and then we got stretched, started fouling, giving away, letting crosses come in, not being in good areas. And I think that their quality, especially not just throughout the pitch, but definitely in the final third, was far better than ours, because I work all week on where we want our crosses to go, and they weren't going anywhere near. They were going to the keeper's hands, over the crossbar. Shots were going wild and high and wide, apart from Paul's. Where theirs were, they were ruthless and efficient in the crosses and attacked all the good areas. So they're a good side, and I'd be surprised if they're not the champions.
When you brought Paul Turnbull back into the team tonight, I'm sure you didn't expect him to score his first goal in 2019, and in superb style, not just the strike for the goal, but the build up to it. And it's just a reminder, isn't it, of the quality you do have at your disposal in this squad.
Well, I mean, there was moments like that where you can tell that the players have played at a high level and they've got that quality. But I just felt that there was, on the other side, there was other times in the game where we weren't quick enough to push the ball around. We weren't, our movement wasn't great, and that moment stood out. And there was other moments like that stood out, but there wasn't enough of that throughout the game. Whereas they kept doing that all the way to the very end, and. So it was a brilliant for Paul. I would have took him some responsibility tonight, but I thought that team first half looked like a team that was set out to win the game. Enough physicality about us, enough punch, really solid on set plays both ends. But I think there was too many players that wilted second half, and I don't know if that's a physical thing or a mental thing. And as I said to the lads, I've been recently to watch a couple of Conference North games, and it looks pedestrian compared to this level. And I think that the pace of the games at the moment, the physicality of the players they're playing against, and the decision making and how they execute things is far superior at this level. And like I said, our players have competed really well in a lot of games for a lot of period of games, but at some point, they'll will, and so we can't be too hard on them, because where we've come from in last year is we've made a lot of progress, and they're a far better side than us in terms of what they've been doing for years, and the investment, and I spoke to Jimmy recently, Jimmy Ball. He was telling me how professional they're doing things. They're not playing at being full time; they are full time, and they're investing well, and I think they reap the rewards of that investment.
You made 6 changes tonight. Is it far too simplistic to say it was just because they're such a big physical side, you needed more height, more physical presence? Is that the main reason for the changes?
There was an element of that thinking, but I think we've got, we've got a big. I said in my programme notes, people probably don't buy the programme anymore. It's all social media nowadays. I said in my programme notes about how we brought the loan players in to give us a second wind, if you like, to strengthen the squad and get us through. And we picked up 15 points in those 10 games, which wasn't far short of 17 points we picked up in the first 10. We were trying to forget the 5 in between. But what I have to do is make sure that when the loans go back, if we might have to go back to stage 1, which is relying on the players that we have. So I need to, whether it be Conor DeMay and Alex Curran and those young players that were out on loan, or whether it be Adam Thomas, Sam Walker, Paul Turnbull, Niall Bell, Dan Cowan, I need to keep my players topped up with fitness. And, like I said, they've all been part of a winning team this season. They've all been part of the success of last year. I think we still don't know whether they will, that group of players, our players plus those coming back into the fold with a bit more experience, a bit more, if you like, learning from this level, whether that be good enough. But at the moment, all I can do is plan to work with my players in the new year, because that's what stage 3 looks like at the moment, whereas I think they've moved on to stage 4 and 5 in terms of where they're at as a club.
You mentioned players learning. Can I just mention one of those players, Niall Bell? I thought at times in that first half he was unplayable, and obviously you're not getting 90 minutes of that, but there were moments, weren't there, where you thought, blimey, he is a player.
Well, we see that in games. We see that in training. I just wish the guy would take some of the simple advice, or give him what's worked for Jason Oswell when he came here, what's worked for Matthew Warburton when he came here, and if he can just absorb some of those things, he could be, because physically and technically he's got a lot of attributes, but he could have been more effective tonight. We had opportunities to shoot and he didn't get on target. He had opportunities to attack the near post, but really pleased with him, because we were concerned about that change, because we wanted to justify the changes on the basis that they will not weaken us, and I can't say that any of them did. So in that sense, it goes to show you how strong the squad is, but we probably as a group need 3 or 4 on the next level or more, and that'll only come with investment and time.
Obviously, just finally, Jim, you've got the trip to Torquay at the weekend. I guess the thing is not to be too down about tonight, because you're not going to come up against Solihull Moors every week, and they are on a different level, as you've said, and it's very established now in, I think, 4 seasons at this level now.
Yeah, I mean, Torquay's always going to be a tough game. I don't know how they've done tonight, but they've had a couple of disappointing defeats.
They lost 3-2, I think, tonight.
Yeah, that's but they lost to Sutton recently, and so they were waning. Maybe they're going through a process that we did, where the players are playing on adrenaline and excitement, and all of a sudden, then the challenge of doing that every week takes massive experience. I know from my experience here, when we second division player, first division player, and then championship player, and a lot of games at those levels, and even when you play the Premiership sides in the top competitions, you can just see the level. Clubs can often play really well in cup competitions on those one-off games, but to do it week in, week out against that type of opposition is very difficult. Our season and what we are about won't be defined by nights like this. It's like, it kind of brought me back, if you like, to the day I got sacked by Lord Snape, when we played Mansfield and we had kids playing. We were probably the most fragile, weakest full-time set, because we're playing. They had Andre Gray playing up front, and they had like a 1.2 million budget then, and I'm getting lambasted because we can't compete with them with our very young, cheap pros. So that's the gulf was there between what we're doing, and I think the difference between us and them will be defined by that. All we can do is hope that we punch above our budget, get more out of our players and help them grow, and just be really competitive. We're not settling for mid-table or safety or anything. We just want to squeeze as much out of ourselves as we can, and then we can take stock then. But I think we're going into a 5 or 6 weeks which are going to be critical for the club on and off the pitch. We need to get a lot of points on the board, and then assess where we're going. Are we going to be the same budget that we have, or are we going to invest, strengthen and prepare, because I need to make some big decisions about the strategic side. How do we go full time? Where's the training ground? How professional does this full time look? And then start negotiating with people to prepare those contracts for next season. And that doesn't happen at the end of the season. It happens in preparation. 6 months ago, 12 months, see where people are at. And I think there's a lot of work to be done, and I think that strategically we need to sit down and just see where, what we've done. We want to try and be as competitive as we can with what we've got, and I think we're doing that. And I can't beat anybody up the club. Everybody works to the max, considering all the other stresses and strains they have on the other jobs they have. And I think now we just need to decide whether this is what we're about, or are we going to start preparing now for the next level, because we're playing catch up on a lot of teams, whether that be Wrexham or Fylde or Notts County, or whether it be Solihull Moors, who are full time and investing, and there's teams who have put a lot more money into it that are behind us. So we should be at this halfway point, be respectful of the work that's been done and the position we're in, and now start preparing to see if we can match that in the second half of the season, and maybe find that little bit extra to be competitive for the top 7.
Commiserations tonight. Thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
Brilliant.